Brilliant. Okay. I'm looking serious because I was panicking you couldn't see or hear me. And I have back pain in my lower back. So I went a bit crazy at the gym with this dude, man. Anyway, we're going to do some training today. So I'm going to share my screen. I'll introduce the training first. The training is requested by a couple of you about the difference between using a management agreement and a company let, and whether you should use one or the other with the landlord direct. So we'll go through this now. So listen up. So we'll share my screen. Let's go to here, and we'll start with. See my screen? Nope. Now you can. Cool. So we share my screen now, right? You can see that company let tenancy agreement. Good. Okay. So what you can see on screen is a standard company let, and it's a sample of a company let. So it's not an agent. There's no one else, so we can use it, right? Now you can see here at the top, the very important part is, I'll put it to the top now. So we are governed by a couple of laws, both common law and the Housing Act. The reason we don't use ASTs, short hold tenancy agreements, is because they are governed by the Housing Act. At the top there, you can see, if I highlight it, this agreement is intended to create a company let tenancy for letting to a limited company. Now you understand why we need a limited company, not just for tax reasons. Is therefore excluded from protection under the provisions of the Housing Act 1988, blah, 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 as the tenant is not an individual as provided by Section 1 of that Act. So we are now governed under the common law, not the Housing Act, which means that we can sublet, because the Housing Act is all about not subletting with the AST. However, there is some differences to that. So I've obviously prepped it so we don't read everything. Everything in us is fairly stock standard. You always read them, obviously. But let's just go down to some other highlighted areas. Now, this is very important, especially in rent to rent. As you can see here, your use of the property, which is us, the company, the tenant, may permit the residential occupation of the property by one or more of the tenant's directors and employees. So what this is saying is, and you would have had this when you phoned up agents or spoke to agents, and they will say to you, who's going to be staying in the property? We say, well, if you're an amateur, you say, oh, I don't know. It could be anyone, because we're subletting or doing this or whatever, and it doesn't really help the agent, simply because the agent has this little clause in their company let. The director or someone else says, this is what you need to make sure that they're covering. Now, obviously, the way that we work, we have clients that we work with. So we may work with the NHS, we may work with Rolls-Royce or whoever, because we're also providing corporate housing with either rent-to-rent HMO or rent-to-rent service accommodation. And with the corporate housing comes people from the same company. Now, what they will accept also is people from the same company or their family members. So they're quite happy to do that. If there's an executive coming and he's traveling with his family members, that will allow them to stay in there because it is a director. They are a director. Although there's a slight change there, they're quite happy to allow that. And you can see here that the tenant, which is us, the company, continues to be responsible for the rent and all outgoings, which is why we say we will still be your tenant, we will pay the rent, and we will pay all the bills, regardless of who is staying in there. No relationship to the landlord or tenant is created or allowed to arise between the tenant and the occupier. So they're just locking us out from going direct. And also, provided the landlord's written consent, which will not be refused or delayed without good reason, is obtained for each occupier. Now, they want to know exactly who's staying in there. Now, when they say the landlord wants this, it's not really usually the landlord who wants it. It's the agent, and the agent, as you know, acts on behalf of the landlord, so they can say landlord. And the reason they say landlord is because they don't want you to fight them and say, well, look, Mr. Agent, that's crazy. Let me speak to the landlord. They do not want to get involved in a bitch fight, so to speak. And also they are abiding by their, common law clauses, agreements here, etc. And it says you must not allow children under the age of 18 years to live in a property without parental guidance supervision, right? Stock standard. Now, how do we get around this thing where they want people in there from the same company? Because yes, we will have people staying in there from the same company on most occasions, but there are the times where we have to take care of voids in between those periods. So we obviously talk always about business and leisure, and the leisure users are always the family members. So this is the type of people that we try to attract with the way that we do our descriptions in the Airbnb and that type of thing, that, we will allow 12-year-olds and that type of thing. But obviously, as per here, they've got to be always taken care of and always under the supervision of somebody who's over the age of 18 or parent and guardian, etc., which I'm sure would be the case. And on that, you can also ask them if they can have all or part of that clause taken out. If they don't want to take it out because they are not allowed to change the document, then we can propose an addendum to the contract or to this contract that states that basically it supersedes 2.8a, whatever, and the landlord gives full consent to the tenant, being us, ABC company, to let out to individuals as long as they are either business or family members. Good. That clause there is probably the biggest objection that you will get when it comes to company lets. But if you go and speak to them about it, I'm sure that of those 10 that turn you down, half of those can get turned around. Tim and I had exactly the same thing in his area. The best agent in the area turned us down and, basically sprouted some of these things off to us. We walked past 2 weeks later, walked in, had a chat, turned around. Tim's now on his 7th deal, not all from that agent. But if he was an amateur or didn't have the mentoring, he would have turned around, gone out, phoned me up and said, it doesn't work. Well, probably not Tim, but some people would have. So please don't be put off by agents sprouting off this crap, because it's something that they have to do. It's their job. They've been told to abide by it. But if you can get in there and speak to them and they're superior and they understand your business model, exactly what you do, because a lot of people that do what we do, they don't care. They're not professional. Then the next one we have here, you must not use the property or knowingly allow it to be used for any illegal activities. Bang! Hookers, prostitutes, serviced accommodation. We do not mix. Even if they say we're going to be nice, we're going to do this, we do not mix. We never allow it because we are under contract not to allow it. Good? For any immoral purposes, including the use of property, keeping or using any drugs which have become prohibited or restricted by statute. They could almost argue that comes in parties, drugs, drink, booze, and all that. You must not do anything nor allow any co-tenant, guest, visitor, or dependent to do anything at the property at any time which could be heard outside of the premises. Parties. including singing, shouting, playing, or excessive loud music, television sets, instruments, or machinery, which may be a nuisance, blah, 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 blah. So you can see we don't like hookers, prostitutes, we don't like parties. And now you can see and understand why, when those of you who have been out with me, why we pitch the way that we do to agents, because it's all around their own terms and conditions. So we are basically saying to them, when we speak to them, you know, the way that we do, the things that we say and the things that we don't say, that we're going to abide by this. Good. Then, because a company letter is what we'll use with an agent, by the way. Though I know you know, but some of you are like sitting there right now. Aha, gotcha. Now, here's another one, especially with service accommodation, when leaving their property unattended. Now, the way that our business model is set up, we don't want the property unattended at all. But there are going to be times, you know, over Christmas, if you don't put people in, that there may be 6 or 7 days, etc., or 4 or 5 days that they're vacant. Now, on here, you can see that you cannot have it with an excess of 14 days. You've got to notify the agent if you're doing it properly. And, you know, to do that, to have 14 days void in HMOs or in service accommodation, somebody's wrong anyway, because that's 2 weeks. That's half a month. And you're losing a lot of money. In fact, you're not going to be making any money. But you need to be aware of that. And we always state that the property will, you know, although we're doing what we're doing, we always work on a 70% occupancy rate. So the actual property will never ever be empty for, you know, more than 6-7 days at most. And again, you're reminding them of what they've learned in their company let agreement. They then take this back to the boss. They tell the boss, they go, okay, fair. They're ticking their boxes. If they ask you any questions, it might be because you haven't ticked a box. So then, cleaning's no issue, locks and security, no issue, because we do what we do. And the reason we also state that we use service CCTV as well is to, you know, for them to be able to have their peace of mind that we also making sure, from what we've stated about the parties, the hookers, the prostitutes, should I say, and all these sort of things, and people coming in and people being unattended and 12 years old at home or whatever, we're saying that we have CCTV so that we can make sure that none of this obviously happens. All of our terms and conditions, Mr. Agents, that we have in place state all of this. Would you like to see a copy of our terms and conditions? Yes, please. That'd be wonderful. Now here, 2.16, subletting, assigning guests and lodgers. You are not permitted to take in lodgers, fair enough, or paying guests. Licensees or sublets, or part with or share possession of the whole, any part. Basically, no bloody subletting. Obviously, the borrowing of money, that's fine. Not allowed to assign your tenancy. First things went, blah, blah, blah. So, no subletting. And people may be shocked or not shocked that this is actually in a company let. Well, it is. And it's in probably 99% of them. So you need to make sure that that is either taken out or an addendum stating that 2.16a is now amended, or this supersedes it, or whatever. So the addendum will supersede anything that's in here and, you know, change it, so to speak, and you'll sign that separately. So I hope that makes sense, because you need to make sure when you're looking at these documents, these are the things that you're looking for. And I think that is basically it. Landlord's obligation responsible. Here we go. Insurance. People say, why do we need to get insurance? So, as you can see there, the landlord's responsibilities is under. We do not provide cover for claims against you, the tenant, us, the company, from other parties, in other words, our guests, for damage to the property or for personal injury that results from something that you have or have not done. So basically, if someone falls down the bloody stairs, it doesn't matter. It's for something that you have or have not done. And they make a claim against the owner of the property. The owner of the property brings that out and goes, it's with the tenant. So this is why you need to have your professional indemnity, personal professional liability, and the liability insurance, in place. So one for the business and one for you. So you need to make sure that if anything happens, somebody jams their fingers in the window or something, you're covered. Good. And you know who the insurance companies are because they're on the group, right? Just type in insurance on a private group and you'll see it there. And speak to them about insurance. You should have insurance anyway. I know that you do already. Those guys are on here. So that, I believe, is it as far as the company let goes. So, I know, here we go. Rent review, break clauses. Some of you come up to me about break clauses and this type of stuff. How long, how short, when does it kick in? We can see here, we base ours again around here. So rent reviews, on this one it states, but at no less than 7% of the rent stated. 7% increase, no thank you. In fact, we'll always go for 0. And then you go down to the tenant. At any time, this is the mutual break clause for the tenant. At any time, and they're the same as you can see the landlord, following the expiry of the first 6 months from the commencement date of this tenancy, you may terminate the tenancy agreement using this break clause by providing a 2-month notice period. And you can see that the same is on here for the landlord as well. But what we tend to go for is we want a 2-month for us or a 6-month for us, and at least a minimum of a 6-month for the landlord, so we know that we're going to get a minimum of 6 months. So hopefully that makes sense. But it's down to you, down to your skills of negotiation to make sure that you have everything in place. So please, if you have a contract, read it carefully. Okay, then we have another one, which is, let's go to the other Dropbox, and we'll get the management agreement. Get the management agreement. Here it should be this one. I think it's already open actually. Here we go. This is it. You should be able to see that still. Let's make it a little bit bigger. So this is on the Dropbox. And you can see our good friend Nino Piccoli has actually signed this off, etc. So we will go to the key parts. So this is what you would use direct with the landlord, because you will become the manager of that property, which makes it so much easier than using a company let direct, which you wouldn't use. You would use the management agreement. Now, you can see here the key point is where is the bit? Here we go. The owner hereby gives, the owner being the landlord, full authority to the manager being us, to manage the property, to let it out, and to let it out on assured short hold tenancy agreements or licenses by multiple occupation up to a number of blah, blah, blah people. And as you can see, section 2, as serviced accommodation or holiday lets. So I know everyone's saying, but they don't use ASTs. So the licenses is where it comes under. So basically, if you go into a hotel and you sign their agreement but never read it, you are under a license to occupy that room in that hotel, etc. So that is how it works. service accommodation or holiday lets. We use holiday lets because a lot of the language out there, especially with banks and what have you, they don't use service accommodation. They'll say holiday lets. HMRC, they will use holiday lets. Not always service accommodation. With Tom's, they will use service accommodation. So that's why we use both, because both languages are out there. And the rest of it is all very straightforward. And again, it includes break clauses and that type of thing in there, as you can see, and what have you. Good. As simple as that. Hopefully I've made it sound very simple, because it is very simple, and this is the way that you need to work with agents. Make it sound very simple. I haven't told you anything technical in there that you need to know or don't need to know. So please don't get all technical on me, and don't get all technical on the landlord. So that's a good bit of training there. If you need some more, let me know. We can do another session next week and go from there. So let's go to your questions. Where are the questions? Pipe me up. So can you please put this on a Dropbox with the highlighted areas for reference? Okay, so it's on the Dropbox already, but I will actually, it's on the HMO Dropbox, but it's not on the SA Dropbox. So I'll put it in the, I'll put the exact same one in the SA Dropbox. Yes, absolutely. So, right, who have we got here? Tim's now got deal number 7. Well done, Tim. Flying. That's correct. We don't need to pay a deposit on a management agreement because we are the manager. But then your company that you put in as a tenant, then they would pay a deposit or not. We may use the advanced rental system with Charlie Honor. And if you're doing a direct deal and you're managing it, there's a pretty good chance you'll be able to get that anyway. So you're not going to use it. So no, you don't use a management agreement through an agent, because the management agreement is between the landlord and the agent, i.e. the managing agent. And then the company let is between the tenant and the landlord, or the tenant and the agent who is acting on behalf of the landlord. So yes, but I don't think it's going to cause an issue there for you. But you may want to have a look at the document. Good. Okay, let me just check the emails that have come through today. Okay, that's fine. If it's signed direct by the landlord, Martina, that's fine. Okay, so. Jazz, unfortunately, I can't make the webinar this morning. However, agent landlord wants to see our management agreement contract, please. Point me to the right version of the Dropbox. Well, if you watch this, then you'll know where it is, my friend. Okay. Donna Molinari will be listening to this because she's not actually allowed to at work. So Donna is working full-time in a fairly high-pressure job, I would say. So our last course was on Saturday for SA, and the one before that was October 25th or 26th or something like that, which is the one that Donna attended. Donna has since gone on to, as of Saturday, sign up 3 deals. 3 deals to the value of around about £3,500-3,800 per month, up to £4,000 and over in the peaks. So let's call it 3.5 times 12. She's added £42,000 to her income. Awesome work, Donna. She has a JV partner with it, so they will split that So they have £21,000 each at 50%. So I know that she is extremely happy and extremely hardworking too. Super hardworking. To be able to do that and hold down a full-time job, that for me is the greatest respect of all. Well done. Okay, so okay. Okay, other emails I've already covered. Okay. Okay, so here's a question. If I have more than 5 competitors, so the spreadsheet that we give you is only an example and will show certain competitors on there. If you have 100 like we do in our area, 121, you've got to put them on there. You've got to know what they're doing. And separate them as service accommodation, as hotels, B&Bs, guest houses, whatever it might be. Yes, you need to include, okay, do I include Airbnb cleaning and service costs? No, just the floor price. There's a basic price per night, but then you must also look at what it's going to cost for 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, 5 people, 6 people to stay during that period as well. And then you'll know exactly what they're charging per night extra. Your due diligence is the longest, most laborious thing that you will do in service accommodation. It's the foundations for your business, for your area. If it doesn't stack up, you won't make money. Okay, good. And looking at Airbnb, I think I may have answered a lot of my questions, as there were no spaces available until January 2018. Fabulous. And I'd want to be looking at April, May, June as well now, looking out to those dates to see what's coming up. Okay. Okay. Good. Okay. Good. Any more questions? Otherwise, I will go and lay down and fix my back. It's very sore. Okay, amazing. Well done, Donna. Lots of congratulations for you, Donna. Well done. So I know that that's some training that you guys wanted. Okay, here we got here. Okay. Tony as well. Matt's back today. So he's fixing up the furniture in that property to get it taken out, because our furniture goes in. We can pick up the keys today, and the furniture goes in. Oh, I think I think it goes in on the 1st, on Friday. Cool. Good. Okay, so yeah, we do have a furniture supplier that we're using right now, that we're testing, trialing, and they are called the Property Stages. So you'll be able to see photos of that next week, of what we're getting done. You are going to pay more, but you're paying for what you get. And you're going to get a unique look to your apartment. And in your areas, Tim, pretty much similar to mine, it's going to be money well spent, and you'll have a very quick return on investment, because the other providers that we've used, shall we say, wouldn't stack up for the type of apartment that we're now pushing out there. I hope that's as diplomatic as I can be. But I would also say, keep looking out there. You know, there are interior designers who do this type of thing and can source everything for you. So always keep out on the lookout. Good. So they do individual art, they do individual cushions, that type of thing. So David Phillips are good. They're really good. And as Priya just said, they finished all. So they do a lot of big bulk stuff. So they finished all the apartments where they are, and their furniture packages are really good. I've used them before, and they are really good. David Phillips, and they've got a special on at the moment. Everyone's got a Black Friday special on. Gives me the shits. Actually, I saw a good one today. Anyway, but I won't share that. So that's it, guys. No other questions? No other questions on the training session there? Good. Okay. Get out there, make some money. If Donna Molinari can do this, working full time, then you guys can too, because she has blitzed it in just her first month. So there are zero excuses why you cannot make money in this business, because there are so many of you smashing the living daylights out of it. And I'm very proud of each and every one of you who are doing this. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Got a development deal run past me. Yes, you can do that later, after lunch, if we can do that. Firstly, email me all of the details, Wayne and Martina, and why you think it's a deal. GDV, costs, that type of thing, and profit. Break it down. No. And we'll go from there. Okay, thank you very much. Have a great day. Have a great week. And I'll chat to you as the week goes on. Well done again to Donna. Well done to Priya, another deal. Well done to Tim on all your deals coming in. Well done, Tony, on your deal. Awesome work. And good. Okay. Thank you. And see you later. Bye. Thank you. Thank you all too. Bye.